Hi, everyone. It's our first saucy Saturday.
Saucy Saturdays.
It's supposed to sound smooth, Eric.
That's as smooth as it's going to get, Mariela.
Okay, so this is going to be our new little series where we're going to go in depth in a technique, in a recipe, an idea, whatever. But we're going to go in on this topic. And considering we just did a bechamel lasagna for you guys on Thursday, we thought we'd really go in on bechamel because it is such a versatile and seemingly intimidating sauce.
I agree. There's a lot of things you can use it for. And I think I think when you hear the word bechamel, you think it's like this kind of like fancy sort of sauce, but it's really easy. It's like the basic sauce of a lot of foods.
It's a mother sauce, according to the French. Right.
And like you said, it's a versatile sauce. And as we know, like versatile is the best way to be.
Yeah. It's definitely a good thing in most communities.
I don't know why you're calling out a community, Mariela, but
I don't know why. That's
I'm talking about sauces. Okay. So I don't know what you're talking about, but
you do.
I'm talking about sauces.
And also what's awesome about this sauce is that it takes flour, butter, nutmeg, salt, milk. Chances are you're going to have these things in your pantry or in your fridge.
And it really is a base for a lot of cool stuff. So it's simple. And let's get to it. Bechamel.
Okay. I like to use same amounts of butter and flour. So a quarter cup, let's say, of butter and a quarter cup of flour. I like to put mine on kind of like a medium-high heat when I start.
Yep.
I also like to use like my pasta pot. It's not very big. I don't know how big your pasta pot is, but like a regular pot. Cause I like space.
I just use like a regular, like not like a big, like I actually don't use the sauce that like I would make like pasta in, but like a small, like quart size sauce. Cause like, at least for the amount of bechamel that I make, I don't need to make massive quantities of it.
Yes. I like to have room when I make bechamel because I feel like my other pan is too small. This is a personal problem. But anyway, so I like to use my bigger pan and so you go ahead and you put the butter in and I like it when it starts to crackle a little bit. That's when I add the flour. And then you're going to smell it. It's such a nice smell when the flour is cooked. It'll give you a cue.
You're like making love to this.
Cause I feel like making this sauce is kind of like that. Like you need to really feel it out because if you're going to get good at it, you can't just make it with a recipe and feel like it's going to be okay because yeah, you add this and that and the other, but you have to know when to do it.
Right. So I actually go by the color.
You go by the color. Okay.
I go by the color. So when I put the butter in the pan and I like to melt butter on like medium high heat. Just because the thing with this is you're not browning the butter. You're just melting it.
True.
And then when I add the flour in there, you want to go ahead and take your whisk, and I use nonstick. So I use a silicone whisk. And so I don't know. I actually heard the other day that did make a difference if you use nonstick as opposed to, stainless steel, that if you use nonstick, you should actually use a silicone so it won't chip off.
Yeah. The chemicals.
Stuff. Right. And it'll keep your pans lasting longer.
Yeah.
So I add it in and I use the whisk and I whisk it around and I whisk around. Number one, obviously all the flour is soaked up by the melted butter and it just starts turning a little bit of barely a tan color. It's going to turn pretty quick.
Yeah. It's like the color of like a cashew. Would you say?
I was going to say like a light khaki. Yeah. A cashew. Yeah. That's actually a good one. A cashew. And so that's when I start stirring it. And then once that happens, I actually have my milk already poured into I have like a Pyrex liquid measuring cup. And so I actually have the milk already poured in there. And then what I do is I put a little bit of the milk at a time. Right. I don't dump the whole thing in there. I dump a little bit of milk at a time and I keep going until all the milk is done.
Yeah.
And
you almost like temper it almost,
Right. Exactly. I was say, like you talked about on Thursday, fuck, I can't remember what you talked about on Thursday, Mariela, but we talked about it and you whisk it. Oh, you don't need to always have warm milk.
Right. It doesn't have to be warm.
Right. Fucking A. Like, I never remember what the fuck you say.
I know, you really don't listen.
I don't pay attention like 80% of the time. I'm not paying attention. You're like on the phone with me and you're screaming at me, stop doing whatever you're doing.
You're like the poster child for ADHD, I swear. There's more 42-year-olds with ADHD these days than there are children.
There's a lot of fucked up shit we live through. So you know what?
You got to medicate that shit. Otherwise you're fucked.
Right. And our whole lives are like a mile a fucking minute right now. So,
oh my God, for real. Okay.
So I do add it in there little by little
down for Saucy Saturday, right?
I love sauce. I think Saucy Saturday is going to be our favorite.
I'm kind of into it because it's like a slower pace. And I like going into okay, so I like to describe things. This is why you make fun of my vocabulary on a constant level. But I really relish like going into something and really describing the shit out of it.
It's like je ne sais quoi when you describe it.
But listen, yes, you can go by color, but also you're going to smell it. Like put your nose in it and
not too far in. It's a fucking boiling pot. Okay.
But put your nose in it and you're going to smell a nuttiness. It's going to smell like kind of like brown butter, a little bit more accentuated because also the flour is toasting. So it also has its own thing that it's adding to the dish. And then, yeah, you add the first cup of milk, you add slowly. After that, you can kind of just,
Yeah, you can go a little faster after that.
Use your gusto and put that shit in there and just whisk the fuck out of it.
Right.
And you just keep whisking it until you start to bubble a little bit. I don't like to make it quite bubbling, like boiling. I
like when it makes a noise that like, you know what I mean? Like when it's like bubbling up, it does that noise.
So you make it do that?
Yeah.
Like a gurgle?
It's like that. It's like
the one fat bubble.
Yeah, like lava coming up from the ground.
Yeah,
like
that's a good one. Yeah. And then you'll notice when you're whisking it that your whisk will start leaving tracks when it starts to thicken. It takes a little bit of time. Don't get discouraged.
So that's the thing. You got to keep whisking it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to take a hot minute. And at some point in the bechamel, it's going to look too liquidy, but it's going to keep coming together when you keep liquiding it. Listen to me. When you keep whisking it. It's gonna start liquidating together. It's gonna start coming together, and really use that whisk because you don't want any lumps. And I think that's also the big thing too. If you put too much milk in there too fast, you're gonna get lumps.
Oh, and when you're whisking, make sure you're like getting the corners of your pan. Like,
yes, so whenever I make the bechamel, you gotta like really scrape those corners and the bottom.
Yes,
and everything like that.
Because you don't want to leave anything behind that will then make your sauce lumpy.
Right.
You do that. And then when you see it come to that temperature where you see that one big fat bubble kind of erupting to the top, you turn off the heat and you take it off the burner because there's going to be residual heat on the burner. This is what I do.
Yeah, me too.
And then you add your cheese in there. Always best to use cheese that you grate yourself. Yes. Tell them, Eric, school the people.
Okay, I'm going to school it. Schooling it. That's what Saucy Saturday is all about.
Yes.
Okay, so here's the thing with already grated cheese. A lot of pre-grated cheese has stuff in there to keep the cheese from clumping together. Whatever chemicals being used, cornstarch. Some people use flour. It just really depends. It's nothing that's going to harm you. It's not a bad thing. But when you shred cheese off the block, it melts smoother and it melts more consistent.
Because you're not adding anything else to the party. You have a recipe. Don't let people fuck it up for you.
Right. I agree.
And also, it doesn't matter if you use for me, salted butter or unsalted butter, right?
It didn't matter for me. And I've used skim milk with bechamel. It doesn't have to be full fat. It doesn't have to be whatever milk you got in your home.
Yeah, today I was a cup shy. So I had heavy cream. So I put half a cup of heavy cream and half a cup of water. And I used that shit. And it still worked along with my milk. So yeah, that's one of our goals here. We just really want to empower you to make substitutions, to trust yourself. Ultimately, there is no mistake so great that you won't be eating dinner that night. I mean, unless you burn the shit out of something. And that's kind of avoidable.
Yeah.
I feel.
It is.
So that's the bechamel that you make that is going to be the base for so many things.
We forgot one ingredient that's so important. Besides your cheese, your salt, your pepper, your nutmeg.
Fuck me, man. Nutmeg is the most important thing. I can't believe I forgot.
Add your nutmeg.
Because it provides what, Eric?
Umami.
The je ne sais quoi.
Oh, it's fucking umami.
It's not umami.
It does provide a warmth to the sauce.
But it's something that you don't even know,
Why'd you give me that face when I said the warmth of the sauce?
No, I'm not giving you. I'm just thinking. This is my thinking face. I know.
Oh, looks like your resting bitch face.
I only have the one face.
You do. You got one face.
And it's all resting bitch. But yeah, I agree that it is a warmth. But it's also just, it's more than that. Because when I think of warmth, I think of like cinnamon and it kind of has like a sweet connotation. But this nutmeg in this sauce, I can't explain it.
Listen, I know what you talk about. Okay, there is an Indian restaurant in DC and they have a tandoori salmon. It's like the best you'll ever have. It has a cinnamon rub on it. And, you know, in Western culture, we think of cinnamon, we think of something sweet, like a cinnamon roll. We think of cookies, we think of cakes, just like nutmeg. We think of baked goods. And this cinnamon rubbed tandoori salmon, it's so good and it has like a throat heat to it.
That was your nickname in high school.
It was Throat Heat 99. So anyway, so it had a throat heat. You fucking kick me off track every time, Mariela. So, but this is what the nutmeg does with this. It's not like we associate with sweet goods, but this adds just like a warmth to the dish that you normally don't get.
Would you say it's like floral almost?
Well, I mean, nutmeg on its own is a little floral, so I can see that. I think the best way I can say it is like a warmth.
Whatever. It's fucking delicious.
Whatever. You're just like dismissing my fucking warmth. I went through this whole story about a tandoori salmon that I had.
Which, by the way, you've talked to me about many times and I have yet to have it. So we need to correct that. Next time I go, it's going to be just me, solo, YOLO.
That's right next to my office. When we pass it. Yeah, we'll go.
Yeah. I need this tandoori salmon because I think I want to recreate it. Maybe we should make it, like try to recreate it, but I got to taste it first.
We need a tandoori oven.
Oh, well, I mean, there's ways around things, right?
You're like, I found this terracotta plant bowl at Home Depot.
Whatever, man. I make bread in my oven. There's ways around shit. Anyway, we digress. So what could we do with this bechamel, Eric? Like, what's the number one thing you would do with this besides lasagna?
Mac and cheese.
There's nothing better.
I love the mac and leave the nutmeg in there when you make the mac and cheese.
Yes.
Trust me, it's gonna be great. Mac and cheese. You make a bechamel and then you're just putting a fuck ton of cheese in there. And use more than one cheese, obviously. Like get a little fun with that.
Blend.
Yeah. And I mean, a fuck ton of cheese. And
like how many cups would you use? Like I would use like 6 cups.
Yeah, easily.
Of cheese.
Yeah. And when you're making a mac and cheese too, you obviously want to season this also. So make sure you have garlic powder, onion powder. You put your salt and pepper in there. You put your nutmeg in there. Mustard powder, by the way, is like the best powder I have had in years.
We should talk about mustard powder.
We're going to talk about mustard powder, but we're going to have a whole thing on mustard powder because that has changed my life. Yeah. And so that is one thing also, just so you know about a bechamel. A bechamel is very light in flavor.
Right.
So a bechamel is kind of like a vessel.
The binder.
Right. It's a binder. And so bechamel on its own is going to be very mild in flavor. It's going to be a little salty, a little peppery with the nutmeg. So combining it with stuff. So if you are making a mac and cheese, you do have to go ahead and season the fuck out of it because if not, you're just going to taste cheese.
Season season
the fuck STFO.
That's it.
Yeah.
You got to hashtag STFO.
That's hashtag STFO. Trademark FoodFAQ.
FoodFAQ. Yeah. Yes. So yes, I agree with that. And that you've made as a cheese sauce before you add pasta to it. What you've made is a cheese sauce. What can you do with cheese sauce? It's fucking endless.
Oh my God. Put on your French fries. Put on potatoes.
Broccoli.
Broccoli. Oh, it's so good, actually.
I want a broccoli smothered in all that shit.
Oh, and you know, if you want to make like nachos, you can start with the bechamel. And so, yeah, don't fucking give me that face, okay? I don't see you making nachos. Yeah, try it, okay? I'm sorry that you like hardened cheese and oily cheese on your nachos, okay?
I don't. I like the opposite. I like the kind that comes in a jar already, like the nacho cheese that comes in a jar. Disgusting. That's the shit right there. That's the goo that you need for nachos, okay?
No.
Not fucking bechamel in a nacho. What the fuck is wrong? You think they're fucking making bechamel nacho sauce in fucking border towns in California? No, they are not. I don't think nachos are really Mexican, right? It's like an American
They're not. And you were about to say Mexico, and I was about to correct you. They're not.
I wasn't.
I saw the M coming out of your mouth, okay? And you weren't going to say Mariela, right?
I've never seen anything coming out of my mouth. You shut up.
No, there's a lot going in, but nothing coming out.
I
wasn't there to witness it. I just heard the stories. Anyways, what you talk?
I'm a nice lady. Thank you very much. But anyway, this is what happens when you know somebody for too long.
Yes. Do you know
what?
Mariela? I think, when did we meet? We met like around 7th grade.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
Mariela, this is like, we've known each other for 30 years.
Is this the 30th year?
This is 30 years.
We need to have an extravaganza.
This is 30 years, Mariela. Our friendship could have children.
Shit. Could have had children 15 years ago.
You know, I'm not advocating for people to have children at 15, but biologically they could, but let's not advocate for that.
But yeah, that's fucking amazing. And we need to commemorate that shit. Next time I go up, we got to do something like super fun.
We got to do something super great anyways. Before year's up, we got to do something.
Okay. And this
is time because it would have been like fall time.
Yeah, whatever.
You know,
next time I go, we're going to celebrate this. And our birthdays. It's going to be like
our birthdays. Shebang. Right. Man. Anyways, so there's a lot you can do with the bechamel sauce.
Agreed. You can, and you know, it also is versatile because of the cheese you put in it. You know, you can put different cheeses and it'll make it into a different sauce. Basically, it has a completely different flavor profile depending on what you put on it. So yeah, bechamel. It's not hard to make. You need to know some visual cues, I feel, to make it. But once you get it down, there's no sauce.
And you know, a bechamel, Mari, it's also like almost like the start of like when you're making like a gravy.
100%.
Or like dinners or anything like that. It's almost like a start of it because you take a fat, whether it's drippings from meats or whatever. You take, even if you made a gravy with no fat from it, you're still starting with butter, flour.
Mm-hmm.
If I make a gravy, it's usually whatever drippings, flour.
Or stock.
Whisk it together, or stock. You whisk it together. And then I like to, this is a little different because I would like to get a little bit darker, but then you deglaze the pan. I like to deglaze with like white wine.
Mm-hmm.
And then you start adding, instead of milk, you're adding now stock to this.
Exactly.
And again, you're whisking it slowly and you're adding the stock.
Yeah. You can make a pan gravy. Super simple. Yeah. I just made biscuits and gravy the other day, which was delicious. It's a little bit different because I added the flour directly to the sausage and the drippings of the sausage.
Right.
Then I added the milk, but it's the same idea. And
it is.
Delicious. Delicious.
So if you have made a pan gravy, you have made something similar
to a bechamel.
Not completely, but you made something, it's the same process to a bechamel.
The technique is the same. So now you're learning not only how to make one thing, but at least 2 or 3, just by using the whisking, the dropping and whisking.
And nachos.
Fucking nachos with bechamel. Where the fuck do you get off with this? Bougie. I'm
going to make you a fucking cheesy bechamel nacho.
No, you're not, because I'm not going to eat that shit.
You're going to fucking eat half the pan, okay? Never seen you turn down a nacho.
I do like a nacho.
Nachos are delicious.
I think we've gone in deep enough.
Yeah, we have.
This has been a really deep dive into bechamel, and I think I love it more than I ever even realized, just talking about it with you.
It's so good. But it's a good base to a lot of different sauces, and play with it, try it, and you probably have all the ingredients at home.
Absolutely. All right, you guys, we hope you try this. Don't forget to leave us a 5-star review. You guys have been leaving the sweetest reviews for us. We thank you so very much. It really helps us get out there. And we'll see you next week. Have a good time.
Bye-bye.